Well, good evening. I'm Stan Boney.
And I'm Erica Thomas. 5 hours and 40 minutes from now will be the one-year anniversary of the start of the fire on Youngstown's Powers Way. That fire killed 10-year-old Corinne Gump and her grandparents, Bill and Judy Schmidt. Police later charged Robert Seaman with their murder, saying he set that fire to silence Corinne Gump. She was going to testify later that day at his trial, where Seaman was charged with raping her.
Now tonight, for the first time, we're going to hear from some of the firemen who were on the scene that morning, two of whom actually went inside the house. New at 10 what happened on Powers Way, according to the firemen who were there. That's Captain Perry Harrison on the left, Battalion Chief Gary DITULLIO in the middle, and Lieutenant Chris Brown on the right. They're Youngstown firemen, and all three were at 3631 Powers Way on the morning of March 30th, 2015. The initial reports were of explosions and people in the house, some of whom were deaf.
That I remember on my way to this call saying that this was not going to be a good situation here.
One that made you kind of get ready for anything.
Captain Perry Harrison was on the first truck to show up.
There was so much fire when we got on the scene that there was no way we could enter the house without a fast knockdown.
Captain Harrison climbed atop Engine 9 and showed us the top deck gun hose line that sprays a solid stream of water. He ordered it pointed at the front door, after which he entered the house and headed upstairs.
The stairwell actually gave way. So that ended up throwing me down the steps and into a hole, and I had to support myself from that point from falling into the basement.
That's Captain Harrison in the middle, limping from the house, and later being treated out front. The fireman on the left, on the porch roof, that's Chris Brown. That's also him in the front, pouring water into a second-floor window.
We actually went up there with ventilation equipment, saws and stuff like that to put holes in the roof, but once the fire started coming out that window, we called for a hose and they got it to us right now. Once we put the fire out, we actually made entry and we found them.
As you've heard, 1 year after the fire, each man can still recall the smallest details of what happened that morning. And though in the end 3 people died, it was not for the lack of effort by the firemen.
We had guys at this fire taking risks that we normally maybe do not take, and they put themselves at serious risk, and yeah, they did a hell of a job.
Well, the house was demolished in November, but tomorrow between 6 and 6:30, a candlelight vigil is being planned on what is now a vacant piece of property. Robert Seaman's murder trial isn't scheduled to begin until September the 12th.
In talking with the fire officials tonight, did they say anything about the criminal investigation into the fire?
They didn't really want to go to that. Okay. No, their job was to show up that day, put out the fire. They said the rest was up to the police and the prosecutor. So they really tried to stay away from that one. They didn't mind talking about the fire itself and what happened there, but what happened afterwards, they didn't want to talk about that at all.
It really was amazing, though, how many small details they could
Yes, all the little things they went through and where they were at. All of them said they'll never forget it.
Right. All right. Thanks, Dan.